All right, our discussion on what's going on at the national installation that is at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport continues. And from the stories we've been running today, it's very clear that the controversy on the Adani deal is not about to go away anytime soon. And that's why tonight we asked you, and we still ask you to continue sending your comments on this question. Should the government reconsider onboarding or offboarding the Adani Group to manage, or onboarding the Adani Group to manage our airports? Should the government consider onboarding them to manage our airports? Alternatively, we ask, should this standoff today be a reason enough for the government to abandon the Adani deal? Please continue sending your yes or no answer to our toll-free number 22151. Feel free to tag me on X at Ken Mijungu, at KTN News KE. Use the hashtag NewsHour. We'll definitely be sampling some of your comments in a little bit. But back to our discussion. Willis Otieno is still here. Willis, has Kenya gotten to a stage that now the government cannot get what it wants by simply shoving it down the throats of Kenyans, like in this case? Because there could have been legitimate expectations when I said the CS Labour said, concern yourself with what matters to you. There could have been legitimate expectation that the government of the day drives this process for the benefit of the country. And I'll be looking at some of the explanations that were given by the government spokesperson this evening.
You know, that is why I say the problem starts. Because once you assume a position of leadership, you must recognize that your role is to lead as provided in the Constitution. The Constitution is your Bible when it comes to leading Kenyans. And if you adopt an attitude that you think you know it all, that you can shove it down the throats of the people of Kenya, it will not work. And I'm not even surprised that that is why there's nothing William Ruto has ever touched. Since he came into office, there's nothing he's done that has worked. And it will not work. Because he took the oath of office. He carried the Constitution and a sword. He only paid attention to the sword and not to the Constitution. So he will constantly be at war with the people of Kenya because he's not leading in accordance with the Constitution. And Alfred Mutua and those others who are telling workers, the KA workers, aviation workers, to only concentrate on their jobs, they are living in the past. Mm-hmm. That past will not come back. This is a new Kenya. The Kenyan people crossed the Rubicon on the 25th of June. They are no longer their ancestors. They are now the new Kenya. Okay. These people are still living in the past, and that past is going to be swept into the sea very soon. I
want to understand what you know exactly about the Adani Holdings, but I want to bring part of the statement explainer from the government, which is nothing new. We've seen it online, but for the purpose of this conversation, the government spokesman says that infrastructure investment is at the core of this. And I said earlier about 260 billion shillings are coming in. Now, what they're supposed to do is to ensure regional competitiveness, to enhance JKIA's competitiveness with regulated passenger charges to ensure affordability. I don't know what that means. Economic contribution is at the core of this deal. And finally, they say there's some level of social impact to enhance job security, creating employment opportunities for Kenyans, and fostering a favorable business environment. From these four pillars, he says that the proposal is still under consideration. Is it still under consideration?
It is under consideration. As I've told you, they were planning to sign that agreement tomorrow, Thursday, the 12th of September.
He says further.
Now they've said they're not going to file it. If anything, the courts have stopped them from entering into an agreement. So they will not.
So this statement is probably because of that. So JKIA is a strategic national asset and is not for sale. Where did we get this notion that the government was about to sell?
When you've seen the Adani proposal, the PP, their proposal. It's
KP.
It indicates there. They are going to take over. It's a leasehold for 30 years. 30 years, William Ruto will not be here in 30 years' time. Why is he making?
How do you know?
He will not. Even if he's there, he will not be president. He will not be in office.
Okay.
Yeah. So why is he committing the country for 30 years? Why is he turning us to our ancestors?
But when we were doing Vision 2030, that was so many months ago.
And in Vision 2030, we had talked about the airport, Greenfields project. And that cabinet had passed project, had signed a sum of 55 billion. And this notion that they're bringing 260 billion, let me tell you, just from the Kenyan people alone, just as the money that we collect amongst ourselves. Do you know how much we've loaned to the Kenyan government for the last 10 years? Kenyan government is holding bonds of up to 5.4 trillion.
Kenyan's money.
Kenyan's money that government is holding as domestic bonds, domestic loans, is 5.4 trillion. That is the debt stock that the Kenyan government has borrowed from the domestic market, 5.4 trillion. So you're telling me that same market cannot raise 200 billion? I mean, let's give us a break. If we can give this government, we've lent it 5.4 trillion. But you are telling me we cannot lend it, we cannot invest our own money, 260 billion, even 300 billion?
We can, but can we manage our airport? Can we?
And I've told you,
improve that airport to the level that they anticipate?
I've explained to you, yes, we can. KAA has had experience to run airports for more than 60 years in this country.
And that's a government parastatal.
So it's from a public company. And you can also invest a strategic partner. I've given you an example of Swissport, for example. They can buy equity into the venture. They can buy 5%. Then they give a management role. Or we can own it, but then you subcontract them to become managers on our behalf. So that the Kenyan people will have bought shares on the entity, will be able to just be getting dividends every so often. Because at the airport, everybody who walks into the airport, be you a passenger, be you somebody going to see someone off, be you a matatu, be you a boda boda, be if you're allowed to enter, be you a Uber, you will be paying money just to enter. Be you a plane that is landing, you will pay money to enter that airport. KAA is not a loss-making entity. When the Mzungu came into this country in 1897, they came to exploit, they came to extract our resources, and they came to dominate us. What is different from Adani coming into this country? They are coming to exploit us, they are coming to extract our resource, and they want to dominate us by controlling our land. They'll be controlling our airwaves. In their proposal, they're even saying, you cannot even put up a new airport without their concurrence. I mean, this is nonsense. We should not even be spending national time discussing, because I believe behind Adani, there's a Kenyan face.
There's a Kenyan.
That Kenyan is a thief.
Willis, I'm going to talk about this more, but we're asking you tonight if you think it's time the government abandoned this Adani deal because of the hue and cry. And just before we take a break, I'd like to sample a few of them. There's a very long text here from one Oscar Barasa from Mlolongo on 22151. He says the government should not fool us Kenyans. Time is gone when you hide to citizens their own assets. We'll be on the streets, not about politics, but this time the Adani issue. We don't want fraudulent holdings managing our national airport. We are seeing the government welcoming corruption and pretending to fight the same. This is Oscar from Mlolongo. The government must abandon Adani altogether. No name given, but the sentiment, yes, they should. With that speed, they will sell even the sky covering Kenya. I didn't see that. And why the secrecy? Same thing Willis is asking tonight. They need to have an open tendering process rather than under the table deal making. And finally, I'll still be reading some of them. Javan Tuitek from Cabernet says, yes, the deal was crude and secretive. Kenya Airways is our national pride. It is surprising how our leaders are gambling with our tax. Just a yes there. And finally, can give my regards to Willis. There's someone saying, hi, I didn't know you teach at KSL. You used to teach there. And finally, there's one here that says Indians, if not